Friday, August 1st, 2025. On a cloudy morning at 0800 hours, two B21 Raiders take off, each carrying 16 GBU 31 JDAMs, a large GPS-guided munition weighing 2,000 pounds. The B21 Raider is a strategic stealth bomber introduced as the successor to Northrop Grumman's B-2 Spirit, featuring enhanced stealth capabilities and upgraded avionics. The B-2 Spirit has participated in various conflicts and has been a cornerstone of the US Air Force. This new stealth bomber is now tasked with filling this critical role. The target? A military research facility on Coco Island, a small island off the coast of Myanmar. After numerous surveillance and reconnaissance missions, the United States has concluded that the military research facility on the island is on the brink of completing the development of weapons of mass destruction. In the past 6 months, the United States has bombarded the authoritarian regime of the SAC, more commonly known as the military junta, with severe sanctions and trade embargoes. Despite these harsh measures, the production of WMDs on the island continues at a rapid pace and is almost finalized. Since independence, Myanmar has been dominated by military rule, with the SAC being the most recent after a successful coup d'etat in February 2021. The current regime has ruled with an iron fist, with violent crackdowns and mass killings of thousands of civilians and extreme media and internet censorship. Over 2 million people are in risk of famine. The US is not surprised by the accelerated development of WMDs. Why? The military junta has been continuously supported by the Chinese government. The Chinese government has greatly increased its support of the military junta discreetly in retaliation for the US' increasingly amicable relationship with the Philippines, South Korea, and Vietnam. The United States has deployed hundreds of troops, built and refurbished old airstrips and navy ports. The Chinese are feeling more and more caged in by the US and its allies and are desperately looking for a way out. Behind closed doors, the military junta has promised the CCCP military bases on the coast of Myanmar and navy ports for the accommodation of their growing blue water navy. They see Myanmar's possession of WMDs as a strong bargaining chip and the only way of permanently halting the growing influence of the US in Southeast Asia. Of critical importance is China's strategy to circumvent the Strait of Malacca with oil pipelines running hundreds of miles from Myanmar to major Chinese cities. The Strait of Malacca is a narrow maritime passageway of paramount importance to China, as approximately 80% of China's oil imports pass through it. In case of war, blocking this passageway could be a simple way to cripple the Chinese economy and its war industries. The Chinese have been pursuing alternative strategies for decades. The Americans, however, have already had a difficult experience with an authoritarian regime possessing WMDs and have had constant troubles with them for decades. They very much do not want to add another to their roster. As the development is almost completed, the Americans view this as their last chance to stop it. The US has proposed a plan to the United Nations and allied countries to take military action in Myanmar and destroy the research facilities. To the amusement of the United States, all allied countries have opted out in fear of a greater war with China and Russia. China has publicly claimed it will defend the rights of an independent country, that there is no world police, and that every sovereign nation has the freedom to develop and do as they desire. They also publicly claim that they have no intention of setting up any military base in Myanmar, and boldly state that there is no Chinese military personnel present in Myanmar. With the lack of action from the international community, the United States now takes it incumbent upon itself to stop the development of WMDs in Myanmar. The Chinese are expecting an imminent attack from Guam Naval Base, as Guam has strong logistical support for long and complex military missions and is now storing the B21 Raiders stealth bomber and multiple 4th and 5th generation fighter jets. The Chinese have deployed the Type 002 Shandong aircraft carrier, a Soviet-style vessel featuring a ski jump launch system. The Shandong can accommodate up to 24 J-15 fighter jets, a flanker derivative modified for carrier use, along with 4 Z-18J AEW helicopters to be the eyes of the carrier strike group, and a handful of Z-9 helicopters for troop and cargo transport. 4 J-15s are in the air to serve as constant combat air patrol. The Shandong is escorted by 2 Type 055 destroyers, 2 Type 052D destroyers, and 1 Type 054A frigate, providing air defense and electronic warfare. Just off their coast, they have deployed 3 KJ-2000s, an early warning aircraft comparable to the E-3G Sentry, set in a restart pattern between Vietnam and Taiwan. In addition, 1 KJ-2000 is taken off from Woody Island Airfield and another from Subi Reef Airfield. J-10Cs and J-16s are on constant air patrol along the Chinese coast. The Chinese have also rushed the Liaoning carrier out of maintenance and set it on course to the island. It is escorted by one Type 055 destroyer, two Type 052D destroyers, and one Type 054 frigate. This move is meant to demonstrate military resolve around the island and deter any adversarial show of force in the area. With satellite imagery, the Chinese have seen 4 B21 Raiders take off from Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, making the long journey to Guam. They are fully prepared and ready for deep strike bombing missions at any minute. The Chinese are on high alert and are expecting an imminent attack. On the American side, the US has deployed the USS Theodore Roosevelt in the South China Sea, accompanied by the USS Lake Erie, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, and USS John S. McCain and USS Halsey, 2 Alabama-class guided missile destroyers. The USS Theodore Roosevelt can carry over 65 fixed-wing aircraft, including the F/A-18E Super Hornets and the 5th generation F-35C Lightning. The carrier constantly flies 4 F/A-18 Super Hornets as constant combat air patrol, along with the E-2D Hawkeye to serve as the eyes of the carrier strike group. The USS Gerald Ford is also deployed in the Bay of Bengal as a show of force in the region. It is the single largest aircraft carrier in the world, capable of carrying over 70 fixed-wing aircraft, including the 5th generation F-35C Lightning. It is escorted by the USS Bunker Hill, the USS Barry, and the USS John Paul Jones. To the north, a lone USS Scott Wilbur is deployed close to the island to monitor all activities. The Chinese fell for the deception. 2 B21 Raiders, each carrying 16 GBU Type 2,000-pound bombs, take off from Diego Garcia Air Base. Diego Garcia is a small island controlled by the UK, but leased to the United States. The United States has built up a military base and has conducted numerous military operations from there. They are about to do one more. It is a 4,000-mile journey to and from the island. The B21 range has not been officially disclosed, but it is likely to have more than 6,000 miles without refueling. However, with 32,000 pounds of payload, the range of the stealth bomber is affected. On the way to the target, the B21s will stop for a quick pit stop to top up on more fuel to be able to make the trip back home. Godspeed. The B21s increase engine thrust and start to ascend to 50,000 feet in the air. The thinner air at high altitude reduces drag on the aircraft, thereby improving fuel efficiency. Flying high also further reduces the stealth bomber's radar signature, making it even harder to find. Just 3 hours into the flight, the B21s are now just above the Liaoning combat air patrol, with their radar and comms completely turned off. A stealth aircraft may have significantly lower radar cross-section than non-stealth planes, but they are not impossible to track and shoot down, as seen previously with the downing of the F-117 Nighthawk stealth bomber. A beeping in the cockpit means missiles are tracking you, and there is no way of evading extremely maneuverable missiles in a large bomber aircraft that is not built for that. As they creep out of the engagement zone, there is a short relief. As they approach the target, the bomb bay is open, and 32,000 pounds of JDAMs are dropped on the target. They immediately bank left to skirt out of the target area. The pilots, nervously looking at their screen feed, are waiting for a hit confirmation. Direct hit. The research facility is completely destroyed and all the concrete structures collapse, left in smoldering ruins. It would have sucked to go to work early today. The few surviving junta soldiers immediately notified the Chinese of the catastrophic attack. The Chinese immediately commanded J-15s on combat air patrol from the Liaoning carrier to push to the target area and hunt down anything they find on their radars. The E-2D Hawkeye monitoring the J-15s immediately senses something must have gone wrong for them to unexpectedly stop combat air patrol, go full afterburners, and head towards the island. They command the F/A-18 pilots, call signs, rebound, ballbank, ELF, and short stack to chase down the J-15. But what the Americans did not see coming is the Chinese lied. They do indeed have military personnel on Myanmar soil, 2 J-20s to be specific, airmen with pilot call signs, Wu Tai and wingman Zimu are patrolling the sky in the southern airspace of Myanmar. The J-20 is the Chinese answer to the West 5th generation stealth fighters, the likes of the F-35C Lightning and the F-22 Raptor. It is a large twin-engine delta-wing airframe with advanced avionics, built specifically for air superiority and stealth infiltration. Suddenly, their radios burst to chatter. They are notified that bombs have been dropped on the research facility, and the command is clear to immediately hunt down anything resembling an enemy fighter jet and eliminate it out of the sky. The J-20s go full afterburners, pitching their noses skyward as they climb rapidly. Their mission is simple: find and destroy. Pushing Mach 1.8, they reach the island's perimeter in minutes. Their radar pings, contact. 2 contacts at 270 degrees 20 miles out, flying at 52,000 feet. Closing in fast, the J-20 pilots confirm visual. 2 B21 Raiders are fleeing the area. At 10 miles out, they lock on the targets. No hesitation. Each J-20 unleashes a PL-15 missile. The stealth bombers without flares or chaff don't stand any chance. Fire erupts in the sky as both B-21s are torn apart, their wreckage plummeting into the ocean below. The American Command and Control Center has now lost comms with the B-21 Raiders, having no clue of what is happening. Shortly after, the pilots of the 4 FA-18E Super Hornets monitoring the Chinese J-15s detect 2 huge fireballs on their sophisticated AN/APG-79 Aisa Raiders. Not knowing what that is, they immediately report it to the Command and Control Center. The commanders on the carrier quickly figure out that the B-21s have been shot down and must have been shot down by the J-15s flying closer to the island. The F-18s are immediately tasked with destroying the belligerent J-15s, interpreting this as a broader Chinese attack on all allied assets in the area. Rebound, Boabang, ALF and Short Stack immediately go full afterburner and point their noses high to gain altitude. This is to increase their missiles' initial speed of launch and potential energy by lofting them high into the sky, increasing their probability of kill. The pilots of the J-15s call sign Yajue, Diaolenzi, Juzi and flight leader Hulu have their radar warning receivers buzzing of being targeted by the incoming FA-18s. They are waiting for a confirmation command on whether to attack the incoming FA-18s or not, with 2 of the greatest militaries to date having their carrier strike groups just a few miles apart. There is genuine fear of escalation. Finally, flight leader Hulu takes matters into his own hands and commands to engage the American FA-18s. They go full afterburner and point their noses up to increase their PK. Going high and fast, the American fighters unleash a volley of M120D AMRAAMs, each Super Hornet firing 2 at each J-15, and begin to crank. The crank is a maneuver done when a pilot launches their missile and immediately takes a sharp turn. This allows the pilot to continue guiding the missile using the aircraft's more powerful targeting radar before it goes pitbull, meaning the missile turns on its own radar to search and destroy the target. The pilot also simultaneously dives down, pulling the enemy's missile into denser atmosphere at the surface of the Earth, reducing its energy and increasing the probability of survival. The radars on board the J-15s now scream incessantly with radar warnings. The pilots instantly scramble out their PL-15s in rapid succession and roll into a defensive crank and deploy chaff and countermeasures to evade the incoming AMRAAMs. The wave of American missiles is devastating. A salvo of 8 AMRAAMs comes in hard, hurling at the J-15s. Despite evasion efforts, all 4 J-15s are shot down and explode mid-air, their remains falling into the ocean. Despite the PL-15 being larger than the AMRAAM and designed specifically for long-range BVR dogfights, the missiles have been launched from a disadvantaged position starting low and slow and have quickly depleted their energy. All the missiles fall short, not a single missile hitting its target. This engagement highlights the critical role of command and control on the battlefield. If both parties had been able to execute their objectives without delay, the Chinese J-15s could have posed a significant threat to the American Super Hornets. Outcome of engagements do not depend solely on aircraft capabilities, but also on tactics, pilot skill, and speed of improvisation. Unbeknownst to the Americans, the J-20s flying close by are now tasked to destroy the FA-18s that just shot down the J-15s. The pilots now know it will be a busy day for them. Immediately go full afterburner, point their noses high to gain further altitude. Both J-20s at Mach 1.6 find a high confidence firing solution, lock on, and each fire a pair of PL-15s before hitting the crank, targeting the 4 Super Hornets. The FA-18s are on the back foot. After hitting the crank and losing momentum in the first engagement, they deploy countermeasures to trick the targeting radars of the incoming PL-15s. The Chinese PL-15s, however, are very modern missiles and are not easily spooked by countermeasures. The supersonic salvo of the PL-15s wreaks havoc. Without even getting a chance to fire a single AMRAAM, all 4 FA-18s are knocked out of the sky by missiles going over Mach 5. As the J-20s plunged down to lower altitude, the AN/SPY-1D phased array radar of the lone USS Curtis Wilbur finally acquires a solid radar return and locks on the stealthy 5th generation fighter. Within seconds, the VLS cells blast open and 2 RIM 174 SM-6s are launched at each plane. The J-20s react immediately and hit the deck, skimming just 50 feet above the ocean, deploying chaff and flares and maneuver into the notch. The notch is a maneuver done by going perpendicular to approaching missiles. By doing so, the aircraft's relative velocity becomes minimal, close to zero from the missile's perspective. This exploits the radar's weakness in detecting objects with little to no motion and breaking lock. The SM-6s lose lock on the J-20s and slip just feet above the pilots. They swiftly bank right and engage the destroyer. They both fire their 2 remaining PL-15s at the USS Curtis Wilbur. The destroyer launches numerous RIM 162 ESSMs to intercept the incoming PL-15s. The J-20 pilots, Bu Dai and Zimu, switch their radars to electronic jamming. While they cannot jam the destroyer's powerful radars, they can significantly disrupt the smaller radars of smaller missiles. The ESSMs fail to intercept even with the Seawish chipping in. Impact. The PL-15 strike the hull of the USS Curtis Wilbur in rapid succession. The second PL-15 hits just ahead of the first. The general immediately orders another barrage of SM-2s at the J-20s. Unable to jam them in time, both J-20s are hit. Their pilots eject as the stealth fighters sink into the ocean. With fires abound and water flooding despite sailors' efforts, the order is given to abandon ship and the crew board lifeboats. With tensions at a breaking point, both nations commit to an all-out retaliatory strike, each aiming to send the other's aircraft carriers to a wet grave. And the world watches in terror, fearing another great war. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks again and see you next time.